Currently, for the ongoing EHR project, we are working on creating a realistic and efficient schedule. So far, we have studied how to define activities and then how to sequence the activities into a network diagram. The next logical step will be to estimate the effort and duration required to execute every individual activity, and this will be done in the estimate activity duration process. We will take a deep dive into several important estimating techniques in the upcoming lessons. On the screen now, you can see the ITTO diagram for estimate activity duration process. The key benefit of this process is that it will provide the amount of time each activity will require. You will be performing this process throughout the project lifetime as the dynamic nature of the project will unfold itself. Let's look at the ITTOs one by one. The most important inputs, as you would have guessed, will be the activity list and the activity attributes. There is a very important point to be noted here. The work estimate is always to be made with respect to the resource assigned to it. For example, if a task is assigned to a highly skilled resource, you might assume the duration will be lesser than if it is assigned to a lesser skilled resource. Similarly, if a task is assigned to two resources, you might assume it will execute faster than if it is assigned to just one resource. I know a lot of questions will be popping up now, but I will address them later in this lesson. For now, the point you have to note is that estimations are done with resources in consideration. Due to this reason, there are some other important resource-related inputs to this process. Resource requirements, project team assignments, resource breakdown structure, which is very similar to the WBS, and the resource calendars. We will study them in much detail a little ahead in the course. Now, let's move on to the tools and techniques. There are 4 important estimation techniques that we will study in detail in the following upcoming lessons: Analogous Estimating, Parametric Estimating, 3-point Estimating, and Bottom-up Estimating. Needless to say, these are super important skills because you can apply these not only to work estimations but also to cost estimations. If you learn these 4 techniques, you will be able to face an extremely broad range of estimation situations in your real-life project management. There are 2 important outputs of this process: the duration estimates and the basis of estimates. Both of these are related to each other, and we will later look at examples of these artifacts for our EHR project. Estimation is a core skill for the project manager. It is a mixture of about 80% science and 20% art, and both are forms of magic. In this slide, I want to give some insights into the estimation process. Effort and duration estimates are determined from several key factors. The first one will always be the scope. So what is the complexity involved in the activity? Whether your team has already handled similar projects. The second is resource type and skill that is given to you. Do your resources have the required qualifications, and what is their skill levels? The third is the number of resources. Do you have access to the optimal number of resources that you require to deliver the project within the deadlines? The next is the resource calendar. When will the resources be available to you? What are their annual holiday plans? What is the corporate holiday plan? When will they be pulled out for other projects? These are all dependent on the resource calendar. Constraints. What are the inherent constraints imposed on the project? For example, work might be halted in the monsoon season. In all situations, it is important to note that estimations are progressively elaborated. It should always be done with consultation of the people who will actually do the work, and it should not be unilateral from the project manager or the team lead. Now, there are a few other important but subtle factors to be considered. The first one is called as the law of diminishing returns. If you keep adding resources to a project thinking the time will go down, you will not get a linear reduction in the duration. In fact, after a certain point, adding more resources will be detrimental to the project due to the communication and management overhead. This was famously brought to light in the seminal book, The Mythical Man Month, way back in 1975. The second point is that advances in technology, harnessing the latest technical tools might give you exponential reduction in duration and resource requirements, especially with the breakneck technical advancements happening today. Third is the motivation of staff. Student syndrome, as it is called, is nothing but procrastination. Your resources might tend to apply themselves only at the last minute, and you should be very wary of that. Parkinson's law states that work will expand to fill the time allocated for its execution. If you give an activity 1 week, it will take 1 week. If you give an activity 2 weeks, it will take 2 weeks. So you should be wary of the Parkinson's law too. All of these factors are extremely real situations that you will face and you should be prepared for. Keeping all these factors in mind, we will next study the actual techniques used for estimation. So, I will see you in the next lesson.